Today, I want to talk about the 16 critical infrastructure sectors of the United States. I mentioned in the last video there are 16 critical infrastructure sectors in the domestic economy, and I want to add some context to help everyone understand the connectivity and importance of these 16 sectors. This video is relative to my previous videos because I'm going to discuss the significance of water and wastewater treatment in context to the relationship between various sectors. Starting off with the chemical sector, and this is a sector that's prevalent in various regions. For example, the chemical sector is prevalent in England and also in Southeast Texas. Various corporations operate in the regions, and the goods they provide throughout the United States are commodities needed for important services. For example, a chemical known as polymer is a product made in New England and sold throughout the United States. Bleach is an important chemical made in Southeast Texas and is a product sold throughout the United States. The two items are goods used often in wastewater treatment. The commercial sector is another sector important in the United States. The domestic economy depends on the commercial sector for financial purposes and because entities in this sector can fulfill the basic needs of life. An example of the commercial sector that's relative in wastewater treatment is retail. Retail companies provide goods needed for water and wastewater treatment. Example of some goods are power tools, plumbing equipment, and safety equipment. The communication sector is an important sector in the United States in context to water and wastewater treatment. Entities can communicate with equipment within a facility and within a specific location. For example, supervisory control and data acquisition systems, also known as SCADA systems, are communication resources. People in a facility can communicate with equipment outside of a facility. An example of this form of communication is a control system. A facility operator can control pumps, motors, and other equipment located outside of a facility through communication standards. Manufacturing is another sector important in the United States and arguably in the international supply chain. Companies manufacture resources wastewater treatment facility owners and operators use to perform important jobs. An example of the relationship between the water and wastewater sector and the manufacturing sector is supply chain activities. A company in the United States can purchase a gearbox, steel, pumps, motors, and other electrical equipment from companies that manufacture the goods. The manufacturing sector also provides services such as installing and maintaining the goods. An important sector in specific regions of the United States is the sector. Dams can serve as a source for resources, specifically natural resources and energy, such as hydroelectric dams. In context to water and wastewater treatment, many entities sustain, maintain, and operate dams to manage watersheds. For example, water sent to a dam can be allocated to the general public, and during extreme weather events, the water sector can send rainfall to a dam to limit flooding and other events. The defense sector is another sector important in the domestic economy. Local governments, state agencies, the federal government prioritize national defense at wastewater and water facilities to limit threats to ecological health. The defense sector is arguably one of the most important sectors in relation to the wastewater and water sector because the quality of services, environmental safety, and human health are dependent upon defense mechanisms set by the defense systems. Emergency services are services provided in the domestic economy and are also part of the critical infrastructure. An example of an emergency service in relation to water and wastewater treatment is health services. Health workers remediate, resolve, and aid when water quality is compromised intentionally, accidentally, or during unforeseen circumstances. An example of the services provided by the emergency sector are actions taken during extreme weather events and catastrophes. The energy sector is in the domestic economy and has a long-standing relationship with the water and wastewater sector. And the reason why is because entities in the water and wastewater sector provide water to companies that produce energy. The companies use water to cool equipment and for other purposes. The financial services sector is another sector within the domestic economy in context to water and wastewater services. Local governments depend on finances in the form of municipal bonds and funds provided by state and federal entities. For example, a facility owner or operator in Texas can request funds to repair or improve critical assets. The food and agriculture sector is another important sector. The sector provides food and agriculture domestically and internationally, farm and water to maintain plants, animals, and wildlife. Additionally, the food sector requires water for food production and health purposes. The government is another sector within the critical infrastructure. The local government is important because many municipalities are under the jurisdiction and control of local governments, specifically municipalities. Additionally, a public utility agency or a water district can fulfill duties traditionally performed by a municipal government. The healthcare sector is another sector. Hospitals, clinics, and other health service entities need water to sustain quality of life for research and for additional purposes. Clean water is essential because it is a basic need of life. The information technology sector is another sector important in the domestic economy and activity within the water and wastewater sector. An example of an important role of the information technology sector and the water and wastewater sector is a system known as an intranet. An intranet is an internal system maintained within an entity. The intranet is a network utilized by people in a utility department, and the system is important because members of the department can communicate internally by sharing important information, data, and important files. The nuclear sector is another important sector in the United States. The nuclear sector is a source for energy, and in context water services, the nuclear sector is an example of a sector that prioritizes cleanliness. Water quality is essential for ensuring the sector can function properly. The transportation sector is another sector within the United States that's important for the domestic economy. Water is essential for assets in the transportation system so the assets can function properly. Sure, the assets meet the needs consumers demand. Specifically, the assets are clean, safe, and enjoyable. The last sector is the water and wastewater sector. And the water and wastewater sector are essential for the quality of life. The wastewater and water industry provides services arguably to each sector. A possible sustainable development agenda to enhance water and wastewater services is a sustainable development goal to improve the nation's critical infrastructure, making the systems more resilient and compatible to other systems.